Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first podcast of 2024. My name is Ashley Stewart. This is Awareness with Ashley. Each few weeks, or basically once a month at this point, I take a quote and I talk about how it relates to chronic illness. With that being said, with it being January and all the times where people make New Year's resolutions, I don't particularly do that, but I know a lot of people do. One of the biggest New Year's resolutions is around losing weight. And so, as someone who's actually gone through this and successfully kept it off now for about 4 years, I started my weight loss journey about a little over 5 years ago, but I've successfully kept it off now for about 4 years. I want to talk about this particular part of it, and particularly because of the relationship that I feel it has had with my IIH. So, for those of you who may be finding this podcast through tags like weight loss and weight loss journey, I just want to briefly talk about what idiopathic intracranial hypertension, or what I will be saying IIH, is, just briefly. So basically, IIH is short for idiopathic intracranial hypertension, and the symptoms that you get are very similar to how the body responds when you have a brain tumor. So you get things like severe headaches, migraine-like headaches, you get a tinnitus and or pulsing in the ears. For me, I had vision changes such as seeing double all the time, and a lot of other similar symptoms that I've talked about in some of my older videos. So if you're curious, I do recommend going and checking that out. I still deal with the effects of this from having migraines, and I am on a very expensive preventative medication for migraines. And overall, I'm doing very, very well. I'm actually doing probably the best I have done in about since the time I got diagnosed, if not actually better than what I was in the months leading up to when I got sick. I do have a lot of limitations that are very difficult to show, and I don't really talk about them all that much. And it's very even hard to vlog the limitations because it's something that I've adjusted to over the last few years, and it's very difficult for me to show it because it's a lot of slow changes over time, and it's because it's something that you kind of get used to with time, you forget that it's even an issue, basically. The quote I want to talk about today is, "You didn't gain all of your weight in one day. You won't lose it all in one day. And to be patient with yourself." So this is by Jenna Wolfe, and I found this quote. It was the first quote I found, and I absolutely loved it because it talks about how this is basically a journey. It talks about that this will take time, and it takes a lot of work. The thing is, though, that I want to stress is that the weight loss success and achieving whatever goal weight you have is just the beginning of this particular journey. It's only the start of basically the rest of your life. I've actually got another thing going on in my life right now that is very analogous to this. So I've had a shift in identity, some might call it awakening or whatever. And that first shift that everyone sets the goal for is just the beginning of a wonderfully difficult series of events, basically, that happen afterwards. And it's not even fair to say series of events because it's not really in time, but you do have to word it like that in order to talk about it because our language is so not designed for what actually happens. But that's another topic for another time. I want to focus on the weight loss in this. I was hesitant at the start, basically, to spend any time on the topic of weight loss because I know that this can be controversial in the IIH community, and it shouldn't be. Like, if you have the opportunity to have hope about getting into remission in some way or another, I'm not talking to the people who have tried weight loss and are in the same position or a similar position as what they were. I'm talking to the people who have never tried it. And people who have tried this and haven't had success for whatever reason, there can be, I think, several reasons for that, get very, very, very triggered when you even consider the topic of weight loss and IIH. It's a little sad. I think there's some, I don't really know how to word this, but I think there is some disappointment if they've tried weight loss and things have gotten worse or haven't improved. I sometimes wonder though if you need to reach a certain amount of weight loss that is even more than what is in the literature, like almost to a normal weight before you have success. Can't prove that, but I'm pretty much a normal weight now. It's hard to say what normal is, but because the BMI is I think it's very inaccurate, but I've had a huge amount of actual weight loss, and it's not only a significant percentage of my body weight that it took to get there, but it was more than the however many pounds that they suggested it might be at the start. I remember hitting about 20 or 25 pounds at the start and having nothing change. And I'm just like, yeah, whatever. This isn't going to be the answer. And then I got down to very, very close to what is normal weight, and things slowly improved. And I think that's where the biggest difference has come from, basically. With it being January and a lot of people are likely considering losing weight as their New Year's resolution, it might seem wild looking at me now, but I was where you were about 5 years ago. So I will, for those of you on the podcast, not be able to see this, but I do want to share a photo here. So I'm going to share this photo. And as you can see, I've lost a lot of weight. But if you see me in real life, you'll notice I'm pretty tiny. And it hasn't always been like that. People who meet me now, they don't even know that I've ever struggled with my weight. In fact, they probably assume I never have struggled with any health issues in my life. I get that a lot because I look really healthy. I'm doing really well. And honestly, I'm even having success nowadays with working a full shift and coming home and doing a decent workout. I don't know how long that will continue, but it's nice to be able to have that. And what I do now is I don't have it set in a deep schedule anymore. I just go by how my body's feeling, because that's how I have to live now with this post shift, is that I go by how I'm feeling in the moment. So essentially, if I'm feeling good, I'll do a workout. If I'm feeling tired or feel like I need to rest, I won't. So that's basically how it works now. There's no planning, absolutely no planning when it comes to the workouts. What I will do though is if I've done a workout, I won't do one the next day just to give my body some time to rest and to not have that potential for burnout. And then the next day, it's just like, how am I feeling? If I feel into it and feel good and feel energized, then I'll do a workout. If I don't, then I won't. Now, there is an exception to this. So I am always almost guaranteed to be worse off when I have my period. So with that being said, there's not much in terms of activity during my period. And actually, it's not that I don't believe that we shouldn't be working out during our periods. It's that I feel particularly that my period is a time for me to rest and kind of get back grounded into just with that natural cycle. So during my period, I am naturally a little bit less active. It's not that I don't think that there's anything wrong or that there's whatever. It's a natural part of being female and having a uterus, basically. But I do sense that slowdown. So, and I feel into that now, actually, with this post shift stuff. So it's really important for me to stress that, like, I don't do as much when I'm actually bleeding every month. So that is my time to slow down. Also, if I happen to feel like I'm getting sick or whatever, I won't push it, because all it does is make it worse. There's no sweating it out. It basically, if I'm getting sick or not feeling 100%, it's just best to give myself an extra rest and all of that. But it is really nice now to be able to feel into that moment and be like, I feel good. why not do a workout? Sounds great. I still get a little bit of a endorphin high when I'm doing a pretty intense, moderate intensity workout. So that's also another motivation. And actually, getting into this weight loss topic, I didn't actually write this down, but I do want to mention this. A lot of the motivation for losing weight comes as you successfully lose weight. It's hard at the start to get the motivation, and it's gonna be even harder if you're not feeling 100% because you're dealing with an underlying condition like what I was at the start. Honestly, it's just better to just honestly go for it and just know that it's going to take time to reach whatever goal you're setting. And so I think it's important to have a long-term goal of like where you want to be, and then or like you're kind of your dream for now. And I don't mean like, so if you have like 50 to 60 pounds to lose, don't make that being your end goal, in my opinion. Like, let's say by the end of the month, I'd like to see this amount of success, and then have short term goals and all of that. Like I said, it might be surprising looking at me that I have even struggled with anything. I totally understand that, but I have picture proof that it actually did happen. And I've successfully actually kept my weight off now for 4 years, which losing weight again is a huge amount and massive accomplishment. Keeping it off for an extended period of time, and by like keeping it off for an extended period of time, it seems like not many people even have success past a year. So like to say 4 or 5 years is actually a pretty big deal. And not only on top of that, but I kept it off during the whole craziness of the COVID pandemic. So, like when gyms were closed, and the big reason why that was so successful for me was because I've never had a gym membership, because I find that having to go somewhere that's like even a few blocks away just is demotivating. It's like the same reason why I try to keep junk food away and out of the house during like the normal time of the year, is because although I'm like literally 3 minutes from a grocery store, if it's something that I have to go and do and go and like actually go out of my way, I'll just say, it's not worth it. I won't go and grab snacks. I know for some people, like being that close, you probably wouldn't have that issue, or even for some, like going to a convenience store to pick up something for a snack when they really want one is probably not going to be that big of a barrier. But for me, it's just like, I don't want to go spend the money, honestly. And so, like, keeping it away and out is one of the ways that I actually manage that. And unfortunately, it applies to the gym as well. So I've never actually had a gym membership, but I have exercise equipment at home. And I find that that just works best. It's also a lot cheaper. It's a little bit of an initial investment at the start, of course, because equipment is expensive, but it eventually does pay for itself, honestly. So I don't really know if you guys are interested in this. Let me know in the comments if you want me to talk about my workouts. But I've kind of shared that. When I was losing weight, I was doing a combination of bike and Zumba fitness. So it's not sponsored or anything, but I love dancing and it's a great way to move your whole body and all of that. But I don't do much Zumba fitness anymore. Actually, I don't do any at all. And I find that the bike is perfect between the active part of my job, which is on my feet all day, and then having the bike, I find is enough. I also have the plan though of getting a treadmill too, so that on slower days or days when I'm actually am on my period, I can go for a little bit of a walk. Unfortunately, the weather here in Saskatchewan is not exactly outdoor walk friendly for like probably 4 to 5 months out of the year on an average year. So having a treadmill would be great. I've actually had a treadmill before, but I got rid of it because I actually got the bike and just figured I would be able to get in a better workout. But now I'm kind of into walking, and walking can actually be a form of meditation as well for me. So I am on the lookout for a treadmill at this point. I don't know when that'll happen or if that'll happen in the near future, but that is one of the goals, and just to have a little bit of a ability to stay a little bit more active when during my slower times. That's one of the reasons why I was successful during the pandemic, was because I already had the gym equipment right there with me. So I didn't have to worry about the gyms being open, which was nice. This weight loss journey has been a journey and a half. And the intention actually started in 2018, but I didn't have very much success at all at the very start, and it was very frustrating. So when I first got diagnosed, or they were talking about IIH as a potential, I was also having numbness actually in the side of my legs because I was still wearing a lot of the clothes that I'd been wearing when I was probably 20 or 25 pounds lighter. And so it was constricting and causing a numbness on the one side of my legs. And I had brought this up to my neurologist, and it was completely a weight issue with the basically cutting off the nerve there. So that was another indication that I had to lose weight. But then when I got the IIH diagnosis and really looked into it, there was hope there that it would go into remission with weight loss. That was just the ultimate drop in the bucket, basically. It was all I really needed to really try. And those first few months from September 2018 to I think it was the start of 2019, I didn't have much success at all. And then in 2019, I finally started to have a little bit of success, and it slowly came off throughout the entire year in 2019. And I think I reached my end goal about the start of 2020. Yeah, it may have even been sooner than that. I think most of the weight loss did occur in the first half of 2019, but the kind of the end stuff has really happened at like the end of 2019. And then even still to this day, like my stomach continues to tighten up and all of that. I've never really had success with that area of my body, actually. Getting into some very personal stuff, I guess at this point, but I've never really had great success with the midsection of my body. I've never really been happy with it, even post weight loss. And actually, since I've started doing this extra exercise, that's starting to tighten up now. So that's wonderful. I don't know if I've actually been losing weight or not during the process, but I don't really step on the scale much anymore at all because my weight actually fluctuates quite a bit with my menstrual cycle and with fluid retention and all of that. So it's not really sometimes the greatest accurate measurement, but I go by the way my clothes fit, and I go by the way I feel. I go by how I look in the mirror, basically. So that's how I tend to judge that. And I honestly, this is maybe crazy for some people, but I do think meditation helps a lot with keeping my weight off as well, because it helps with stress management. It helps with being mindful about when you're actually hungry. Like my meditation practice now goes way beyond the cushion, basically. So at my heaviest, I was about 180 pounds. And when I actually stepped on the scale around the end of the actual weight loss part of it, I was about 135 to 140 pounds. Again, it fluctuates based upon a lot of factors now. It took over a year to get down from the highest to lowest, and honestly, actually losing weight was just the start, as I've already mentioned before. It was just the start. It's so much in the past now that it feels like it really isn't a part of my life anymore, but there's still a lot of things I do actually to be careful about not gaining weight. So, one of my biggest pieces of advice I'll give now, if you want any more, I can for sure do another video if you guys are interested. But the biggest thing that I do these days is that I don't drink my calories, honestly. This makes a huge difference. So, like, I have water, and that's it. The very few times of the year I'll have wine, sometimes I'll have brisk iced tea, or like other types of iced tea that are like the Canadian iced tea. You guys in the US do not have iced tea the way I prefer it and like it. It's similar to a sweet tea, but it's not. It's not the same in the US as it is here in Canada. But that's the closest thing I can come up with. I don't know if you guys have like those crystals too that you can like make iced tea. It's like similar to lemonade, but they're iced tea crystals. That would be very, very close. But it's like a sweet tea, but it's not the same as what you guys have down there. I occasionally have milk too, but not very often because it's loaded with calories because I really only like the chocolate milk. And I hate cereal, so I don't put milk on cereal either. That's actually one of the reasons why I supplement that kind of stuff, is because I don't drink much milk products. Don't like it, and I don't like the calories. My reasons for losing weight had more to do with the hope that weight loss would allow me relief and possibly even remission from IIH, which, looking back on this, I can say now, yes, I do believe that this is one of the biggest reasons for my IIH going into remission. I seem to have had the classic form of the primary idiopathic intracranial hypertension that occurs in my particular age group, that weight loss does seem to have massively helped. My doctors have even used the cure word, but in my opinion, cure would mean that if I was to gain weight back, that it wouldn't come back again, which I'm not convinced it ever would. I think it probably would come back. I have no idea. That's all I basically wrote down because that's the most important things that I wanted to talk about. And I wanted this to be very genuine and very authentic. I wanted to cover this topic of weight loss because it is January and so many people seem to want to lose weight. I think a lot of people too who know they need to lose weight don't know what to do or how they can start. I honestly think that the best piece of advice I can give you guys is to start small with the changes. So just like with anything, you're not going to be able to do a whole bunch all at once and be successful. This is true with starting into meditation for those of you who are interested with that. So with meditation, I started out 10 minutes a day, and when it felt like I needed more, I moved it up to 20 minutes a day. From there, I think I went to 40 minutes because I'm just like, well, doubling this wouldn't be too bad, and I can use bells and all of that to know how much time has passed. And now I'm actually up to an hour every single day. And I actually get really grumpy if I don't have that hour. So, just a side note. Like anything, it's about starting off small. I honestly think that if people were to just start off with not drinking their calories and introducing even 10-15 minutes of moderate intensity exercise, that you'll probably notice a huge difference even with that alone. The other thing that is a huge factor and honestly becomes a giant pain when I travel is because of my dietary restrictions, I'm gluten free. And I can't say I'm celiac because I was never diagnosed, but I do live as if I'm celiac. And so, because of that, I can't easily eat out at any fast food place, basically. And because of that, I am forced to eat at home. So I think if you can spend more meals at home, not drinking your calories, because that will include cutting out things like what we call pop, but it's soda in the US. And so not drinking your calories, not and trying, let's say, eating out once a week, and then maybe introducing 10 to 15 minutes of exercise, I think you'll be surprised at how far that goes. So that would be my advice for getting started. Now, again, I'm not a medical professional, but I do have the experience of actually losing weight. So I think that's really, really important to mention as well, that I've been there. I know what you're going through. I know the challenges associated with it. I know the frustration and emotional frustration that can come along with this. And just know that the frustration will eventually lead to success if you are actually serious about wanting to make that change. But if you guys have any questions or anything that you want me to cover in this particular topic, I'd love to share it. And I was actually going to make a 2023 recap video and then talk about my goals for 2024 with this particular channel. However, I'm just going to throw it in at the end of this podcast. What I want to focus on for 2024 on the channel is focusing a little bit more on the weight loss. So having a section for people, because I really do honestly believe that this has been one of the biggest reasons why I've been so successful with everything. The second being meditation. I also want to talk a lot more about being gluten-free and have a playlist for that. It's really hard to demonstrate the gluten-free stuff. So look out. I'm probably going to do that in a variety of ways, such as maybe doing some vlogs and all of that. So I'm hoping to have a playlist for that for this year as well. And if you guys have any questions about being gluten-free and want me to cover some videos on it, feel free to drop into the comments down below, because it's when I've been gluten-free now for, it'll be 12 years, I think, in July. I think I went in 2012 because it was the year I graduated high school. And so I don't really remember a lot of the changes that I had to make because it's been so long. And I also want to share more of my journey with the shift in identity, also called awakening, and continuing with podcast talking about the important topics regards to IIH and migraines. So exactly what I'm doing right now, I feel like I finally found the balance for making content. I'm hoping to resume short videos on, I think, Monday next week. I think is when I'm going to resume the daily shorts. There's going to be a video that I release actually filming today, so it'll probably go out later tonight. I'm going to be actually showing, I found an old photo actually of when I was at my heaviest, around the time when I was losing weight, and wanted to recreate the photo in a video form because I have the exact same clothes actually, and they look way different obviously. So I wanted to do that. That's the short video that was released, and then the next one won't be until next week. I probably will make those shorts and clips on Sunday when I'm off. I'm also hoping to resume my poetry channel very soon, but I think that's where I'm gonna end this particular podcast for today. If you guys are interested, you can follow me across social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Threads at Awareness with Ashley. You can find me on Twitter, also called X, at Ashley Stewart 94, and Facebook and YouTube at Ashley Stewart. And for those of you listening on the podcast, please do subscribe, leave a review. It does help us get more listeners and it boosts us up in the podcast ratings. If you're watching or listening to this on YouTube, you can please do subscribe and hit the like button, as it does help get our videos in front of more people. But thanks for joining me, everyone, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.